This is the Brisbane Lions Fancast with Dom Fay and Michael Whiting.
Yes, welcome to the Fancast this week after what was arguably our worst performance of the year on the weekend, but I don't even think we're going to touch that much on it, to be honest, Mike.
Got a good excuse to brush over it, haven't we?
Yes, we do. The retirement of Jonathan Brown, which obviously was announced on Monday. Many were probably expecting it to come. Maybe the suddenness of it surprised a few. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's happened, and now the past few days have been spent reminiscing about one of the greats of the game.
Yeah, it's time to probably celebrate more than commiserate, isn't it? Just such a wonderful career, and go down in history, no doubt, as one of the greatest Lions of all time. We all know his statistics, his 3 premierships. He said at his press conference on Monday he thought that inflated his reputation, but I don't really think that's the case. He played 250-plus games, which I think's a minor miracle in itself, the way he threw himself around and battered his own body, and got suspended a lot early in his career as well. But he's going to leave a legacy that it's hard to say it won't be filled, but it's going to take a hell of a long time. So just amazing career, and it's just been great to hear all the tributes flood in over the 24 hours post-retirement, hasn't it? Yeah,
he was as good a set shot, I reckon, from 50 metres out as you'll ever see, Browny. My favourite of the tributes was from Craig McRae, obviously, from the Premiership teams, who tweeted, in a quote marks, "Running by me, my little mate. Before the bounce, I would run my opponent past Browny and hear a cry of pain. He made us all stand taller." So McRae would run his opponent past Browny, get a bit of a knock, and
not a bad strategy, is it?
Not at all.
Just so many wonderful memories. You don't even know where to start. I saw Michael Voss tweeting on Monday about his favourite game and his favourite moment and his favourite trait of Brownie's. It's just been an endless list, and I think the Lions website even has a poll running of their favourite Brownie moment. There's about 15 moments on there, and it's not only on-field stuff, but he endeared himself off the field, didn't he? Just his character and his nature, and just the sort of knockabout Ocker bloke that everyone could relate to.
Yeah. Growing up as a kid in Queensland from a rugby league family, which is what I was really born into, Brownie was one of the main reasons that won me over to AFL, and I think I would be far from alone in that regard. I think had a massive influence.
It's probably as big a legacy as you can leave, isn't it, in a rugby league dominated state? And he had a lot of mates, obviously, in those early 2000s that I guess woke the wider Brisbane public up to the sport of Australian rules, and there was obviously Michael Voss, and there was Alistair Lynch and Jason Ackermanis and Simon Black, and a lot of guys that became household names. But Brownie went from that era and continued even in the struggling years post that. Just managed to connect with the community, and everyone loved him. Which I read an interesting article today from a mate of mine in Perth, Simon White. I'm sure he's listening. Just a great article saying that early in his career, if you said that Brownie was going to be such a loved and revered figure now, you would have almost laughed, because he was almost public enemy number one in a lot of places, because he was suspended so many times for decking blokes from different clubs in different states. But he won everyone over, and just with his play on and off field, he's a terrific bloke. And I know I'll miss him as a journalist and as a spectator. So in many ways a sad time, but a great time to reflect.
Absolutely. It does feel a bit like part of the soul the Brisbane Lions has left. Obviously, it happens with every club. New stars come in, but I think Brownie's one that we'll all remember for many years to come. And I just want to quickly say, if you are a Lions fan and you are not planning on getting to the game on Saturday night to see him off with his lap of honour, you have to change your plans immediately. We need to pack out the Gabba for that.
Well, you've got to just get along. The guy. How much has the guy done? Not only has he won premierships, so we've seen how many the horrendous head injuries that actually ended his career ultimately. Putting his body on the line for that jumper. Said on Monday that he bleeds for the club, still loves the club, will always love the club. I mean, if that's not enough to get you out there, you're kidding yourselves. And Dom, have you got a favourite memory or a favourite moment of Brownie?
See, there's
so many.
It is really tough. I think for me, the one that sticks out probably the most is, I'm pretty sure it was 2010 or 2011 when he kicked the goal right near the end against West Coast that it was like a wooden spoon battle,
almost a forgotten moment, that one.
Yeah.
But that was over at Subiaco.
And he slotted it. And the moment he had the ball, I think it was a free kick he got. The moment he got the free kick, you just knew, we're a very good chance here. He's going to get it. It's Brownie. And that's probably what sums him up to me. The moment that the ball was in his hands, 40 plus metres out on whatever angle, for some reason, despite all logic, you just thought, I reckon he's going to get it.
Yeah.
It's just that confidence.
And I tend to agree with you because, I think a lot of people have spoken at the mark against Hawthorn running with the flight, which was incredible. His 8 goals against Essendon in his comeback match in 2005. But an image that will stick with me is a similar one to yours is the match against Sydney many years ago at the Gabba, and he kicked the goal on the siren, and it was just to draw the match, so it tends to get lost a little bit. But he was 50 to 55 metres out, 45-degree angle towards that left-hand boundary line, and just absolutely arrowed it through the middle, and it was just an incredible kick. Nightmare as a journalist trying to write a draw, but just an incredible moment for Brownie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another quick one for me that I absolutely loved was 2011. We'd had a shocking start to the year. Off-field issues were going on and things weren't in a superb place. We went the first 7 rounds without a win, I'm pretty sure it was. And round 8 or 9, we came up against North Melbourne at the Gabba, and it was Brownie's return, his first game for the year, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And he didn't have the most standout of games, but you could just see instantly how much the team lifted just by having him out there, and that's really the lasting image. I mean, that along with the one-fingered salute up in the air, I think is what's going to stick with me about Brownie for many, many years to come.
Absolutely. I know we could talk about Brownie for half an hour, but I'll just wrap up with a couple of quick, I guess they're off-field ones for me. We've heard about how he's been endeared to the public by just his he's such a personable guy. And one example I saw of that was many, many years ago. There's no way Brownie would even remember it. Out at the QE2 running track one Saturday morning, the Lions had just finished up a training session, and me and a couple of guys that I run with were out there. And one of the guys I was training with was about 18 or 19 at the time, and was sort of a bit gaga over seeing Brownie in the flesh about 30 metres away. And Brownie came over and said g'day and asked him what sort of a runner he was and what session he had to do. And it was just a really touching moment, which might not mean much to him, but I know it meant a lot to my mate. And that was one example. And just one quick one as a journalist. I remember the Lions had been destroyed by the Sydney Swans about 3 or 4 years ago, trailed by 12 or 13 goals at half-time and ended up losing by that. Went down to the dressing room afterwards to get some reaction, and basically in that situation you just ask for any player you can get. Not many of them are up to talk, and the media office at the time came out and said Brownie's happy to have a chat. So I went in there, and he was sitting on the ground like someone had shot his dog. He had ice packs all over him, but he fronted up and took to the journalists' questions like a great leader would. So that's something I'll miss, just a guy that fronted up no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. One final one to wrap up for me was just when I was in year 12 and I was coaching my school's junior football team, and I went into the Gabba, into the Lions headquarters to pick up a bit of free gear that the club was giving to me to pass on to the young kids who I was coaching. And I got in the lift to go up to level 5 where the offices are located, and Brownie was in the lift when I hopped in, and I was there in my school uniform.
Nervous, Dom?
Absolutely nervous. I had not really dealt with or met any Lions players before that moment, so I was quite white, and he said, just in his typical Brownie voice, "You look like you've seen a ghost, mate." And he just said that to me, and then was just joking with me the whole lift ride up, and then said, "Well, have a good day," and just walked off and just treated me, like a complete equal. Which one of the best players of all time treating you like that, it just sums him up as a bloke, I think.
Great bloke. We're going to miss him, but we hope he sticks around the club, and I'm sure no matter what Brownie wants to do in the future, I'm sure he could name his position and his job description at the Lions, and they'd happily accommodate. So I guess time will tell in that regards, but big hole to fill on the field, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had to happen one day, but it's come to that point now.
Absolutely. It is very sad, but it's a time of celebration, as we've said earlier on. Now, just something that I do want to briefly touch on the show. Now, this will become a bigger story, I imagine, over the coming weeks, but the members' advocacy group, the Lions Roar, has put out a bit of information earlier in the week, just comparing how rough the Lions situation is with homesick players compared to other clubs. Of the 4 frontier clubs, GWS, Gold Coast, Sydney and the Lions, we are the only one without any kind of allowance outside of the salary cap to help keep players. And, the stats such as 10 out of the 19 first-round draftees that the club has taken have been lost to homesickness. We're talking ridiculous amounts compared to other clubs when we've got 85% of our list around about is interstate, and 41% for the Victorian, South Australian, West Australian clubs. There's just all these stats out there that are really quite damning.
Quite well put together, wasn't it?
It was really well put together, yeah.
Yeah, very emphatic, I guess, and particularly on the back of what happened last year, which has been talked about at great length. 5 first round I think they were all first round ultimately.
I think Yo maybe. Maybe
Yo was the second round, but the rest of them were either first round or late first round, and all leaving due to homesickness, and that's obviously beefed up these statistics, but they're quite damning numbers. So I think you're right, it might come to a head a bit later in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be very interesting to see how that one plays out, particularly with Eddie Maguire launching a bit of a missile about the club's academy, but there's going to be a
poor old Collingwood, eh? They
they're
do
struggling.
It so tough. Yeah,
really do.
They're really struggling. And I'd actually also, I think what stands out a lot about those figures, for me, not the 10 out of 19, I guess, first round, I think they're first round draft picks that had gone home because of homesickness, and there was also another element in there that's not recorded in those statistics, the likes of Mark Murphy knocking back the opportunity to come to Brisbane as a father-son because he wanted to stay in Victoria. Like, that's not factored into the equation, but obviously there's a home sickness element if you can be homesick without coming to the club, but there's an element in that. And also I was looking through some stats the other day and noticing that Sam Mays, who was our second-year player, who was obviously a first-round draft pick, since the premiership years, he's, of the first-round draft picks for the Brisbane Lions, he's played the fourth most amount of games. There's only Dan Rich, Matty Leuenberger and Mitch Clark that have played more games. The rest have either gone home with homesickness, been delisted, traded or whatever. So there's a little bit of homesickness and a little bit of bad recruiting there, but it's not a great combination, whichever way you look at it.
No, it's not. It's something that the AFL probably needs to address and help the club out with quite urgently, particularly when we do have results like Saturday night, and it has taken us over 11 minutes to get to this. But it wasn't. Yeah, we are. It wasn't a very pretty match on Saturday night in any regard, and it ended up being pretty much what you predicted, never really being in it at all, and you end up more or less a 90 to 30 scoreline. It's more like 100 to 20, but yeah.
I know you don't want to sit here and sound smug because it's not smug or it's not a time to be like that at all, but that's the way Fremantle play, and just with the Lions' lack of experience and lack of physical stature, I suppose, that type of performance was on the cards. Although on the Saturday night I was actually finishing up work at the Gold Coast Geelong match, so I didn't see the first half, and I'd come back up into the media box and the TV was on, and I looked up at the scoreline and just went, whoa, I think it was 42-1 or 45-1 or something ridiculous, and saw that there'd only been a couple of inside 50s, and it was a brutal night for the Lions, and showed a little bit of ticker after half time. I mean, we're talking relative terms here to the rest of the match, but they did show a little bit after the break. I mean, I had genuine fears that there might not be a goal at one stage at half-time when there was no goal and only about 5 inside 50s. So it was little victories on the Saturday night, but you've almost got to put that behind you, don't you, and just take it as a teaching tool and show to the players, well, that's what we've got to get to. So there's your example of the one of the best teams in the league, and that's what we've got to sort of slowly edge towards in the coming years.
Yeah, I remember I was having a chat, would have been a number of years ago now, to someone who's been following footy for many years, worked in footy media, worked in footy clubs, and he was telling me that the thing that he notices, and a really exciting part with every developing club, is there is a day that is the worst day, the worst performance, and from there it only gets better. And you could have thought there's a few of them over the past few years, maybe Western Bulldogs round 1 last year, North Melbourne round 4. You know, there's been a few that you thought maybe this is the worst day of the club, or the worst performance, and it will only build from here. I feel like that may have been Saturday nights. Maybe that's an optimistic point of view, but I don't think we're as bad as we looked on Saturday night, and I think results like that are going to start becoming more and more anomalies rather than regulars, and I do have probably more confidence in that than maybe a lot of others do, but I'm quite confident that what we showed against Carlton and the Bulldogs was more than a fluke, and yeah, I'm expecting a much better showing against North Melbourne on the weekend.
Oh, absolutely, and I think the anomaly for me was probably the Greater Western Sydney result, because we've seen against teams in the bottom half of the table that Brisbane are quite competitive. They've won 3 matches. They were in it until very late against a club like Richmond, who struggled as well. So we've seen that the teams around that area, they're quite competitive, but it's just a quantum leap to get to that top 4. And that Fremantle, and to a lesser extent the Sydney Swans about 6 or 7 weeks ago, probably showed the difference between a top 4 and a bottom sort of 6 or 8 club, that it's just an enormous difference. And the only way you can get to that is by exposing kids to these. It's just a shame that you have to expose 8 and 10 kids in one go to it, because because the discrepancy between the clubs becomes a lot greater. But that's just learning, and you've just got to put that behind you and move on. And you've got a chance this weekend against North Melbourne.
Absolutely, and that's probably as much of a preview as we'll be able to fit in. We have gone way over. So it's time that we move on and get to our interview with Ash McGrath on the Fancast.
The best way to keep track of everything Lions is to head to lions.com.au. It's the first place to find the latest Lions news and videos, get the lowdown on upcoming games, results and player stats. There's also great ways to interact with live chats, downloads and Player of the Year voting updates. And with a social media hub, you can connect with all the Lions' social media activity. Lions.com.au. Everything Lions, all in one place.
Joining us on the Fancast this week is now the last remaining link to the premiership years on the playing list. It's Ash McGrath. Welcome to the show, Ash.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, obviously, big news out of the club yesterday. Everyone's talking about it with Browny hanging up the boots. How have you reacted to the news? Has it been a shock to you, or probably you saw it coming?
Yeah, probably saw it coming. I didn't expect it to be this soon. I thought, maybe might be able to play out the rest of the year and hopefully get back and play one more game. But, it's a shame the way he's going out. But he has to look after his health and, he's got a family to look after now.
You've been on the list for 12 or 13 years now, Ash. Obviously a lot of contact with him. Can you tell us what sort of a impact he's had on your life and your time at the club?
Yeah, I've played with Browny just going on 14 years now. So, I still remember Browny when I first got here. He was just an imposing figure, even at a young age. He had an impact on my career. I lived with him in 2002 and 2003, and he's one of the main factors. I ended up with a premiership in 2003. Just him taking me in, and I remember pretty vividly after the 2002 grand final, just sitting down having a beer with him, and he said he wanted me to play in the next one. So that kind of sticks fat with me.
Yeah, definitely. So you did live with him for a few years, as you just said. What was that process like? I imagine you've got probably a bunch of good stories from those years.
Yeah, no, he pretty much took me in. He was looking for a housemate, and I was living with Bo McDonald and Damien Cupido at the time, and he just hit me up one day, and I said, yeah, for sure, I'll move in with you. And we sure have some good memories of living together, and I think it turned my career around. Just having him being pretty much not a father figure, but like a brother to look after me for 2 years, and it's something that I hold dear.
And just some on-field memories, Ash. Obviously, everyone sort of marvelled over the past day or so since he retired about his on-field exploits. What do you remember him most for?
Just his leadership and just how intimidating he was. Every time you went out in the field with Browny, you knew someone had your back. So, some of the things that he did on the footy field, I remember the famous mark that everyone talks about. I was actually sitting on the bench when it happened, and most boys wouldn't even think about going for marks like that, but, it must be just inbred in Browny being a tough country boy. He never takes his eyes off the footy, and apart from the mark, just his clutch goals and just his leadership that he showed throughout his career.
As I said at the start, it does now leave you as the last remaining premiership player from those years on the list. Is that an interesting feeling or a bit of an odd feeling?
Not really. I haven't really thought about it like that. It makes me feel just a little bit older. Now I'm the oldest bloke on the list after Brownie's done. So, it just makes me think about my football mortality. You never know when my time will be up. So, I just look back on the career that Brownie's had, and makes me kind of look back on mine as well. So, Brownie's going to be Australian Hall of Famer, I suppose, and, he's going to be missed.
Speaking of your career, Ash, obviously you've had a really difficult year with injury keeping you out for the first few months, but a couple of matches back in the twos now. Can we expect to see you in the seniors sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I've had 2 runs in the reserves, and body's feeling pretty good. So all I can do is keep training hard, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks let us see the spot there for me. It's a bit hard to crack into the team. I know the team's not going that well, but we've got my spot in the forward line. You got the Lewis Taylors, Zorkos, Greens playing well, and with Browny going out of the squad, out of the team now, it makes someone like Michael Close to step up and take his role. So all I can do is keep training, and hopefully my name will get called out soon.
You mentioned that the Brownie decision has made you think about your own football mortality. Have you got some kind of a sense about how much longer you want to play?
Yeah, I'm out of contract this year, but I think I've still got 1 or 2 years left in me to offer the group. So, like I said before, it's just all about me getting back and proving to the coaching staff that I've still got something to offer. And it's up to them at the end of the year. If they ask me to play on 1 more year, then I'll be more than happy to. We've got a pretty young list, and I think I've got some experience and knowledge that I can pass down to some of the younger boys.
Once you get your chance, Ash, whether it's this week or a couple of weeks or whenever it is, what do you think you have to do to prove to Leper and the rest of the powers that be, that you deserve another crack next year?
Well, just to take over some of the leadership down on the forward line. There's a big hole there now, and I just got to get back there and hopefully fill the void with some of the goals that Brownie's going to miss. So it's just all about getting back there and being consistent with my footy for the rest of the year.
Do you feel like there's a bit of pressure on you perhaps to step up when you are in that forward line in terms of a leadership role with Brownie out now? I mean, obviously Merritt is there who has some experience. Zorko's not, he's not one of the new kids exactly. So do you feel like there is an emphasis on you needing to be a bit more of a leader up there as well now?
Yeah, I do feel that. When I do get the time, the call to come back in, I will feel the pressure. If they put me down forward, that the team needs me down there to kick goals. So might put a little bit of pressure on me, but I done it last year when Brownie was injured. I was able to just go back there and slot into the forward line and be able to kick some goals. So there's a little bit of pressure, but I don't take it on too much.
Were you getting really itchy the last couple of weeks, Ash? You've played 2 weeks in the reserves. You've had to watch the loss against the Giants, and then you've had to watch the loss against the Dockers. You must be doubly keen to get back in and try and help on field.
Yeah, I was pretty itchy last week, just seeing how the team went. The ball didn't really come down there that much, but I just thought, the boys just looked like they tried hard, but they just might have needed a little bit of leadership with just structures and that. We sent a pretty young side over there, so I was feeling for the boys back here in Brisbane, but like I said, if I get a call up this week, I have to take it with both hands and help the team out as much as I can.
We're almost 1 year exactly on from the miracle on grass. Obviously, you've had a pretty lengthy injury layoff. Have you had the chance to watch that back at all since?
I probably watched it after it happened, but you just got to get over the game pretty quick. It'll be something that I look back on at the end of my career, and as you know, you couldn't really hang on to it too long because I think 4 weeks after that goal, I was back in the twos. So you just have to, once it happens, just focus on the next week. So, but like I said, when my time comes, it'll be up there as one of the best memories apart from the premierships.
Just one quick one from me before we do let you go. The members advocacy group, the Lions Roar, did put out some stats a bit earlier in the week that were pretty damning about how tough it is for the club to hold on to interstate players. And you are a player in particular who there have, throughout your career, as I'm sure you're aware, been talks about you potentially going home to Perth when you were younger. Do you think that it really is a major concern, the retention issues at the club, and that there really should be some kind of retention allowance put back in to help keep younger players like you used to be when you were struggling?
It would help, but I know the times when I wanted to go home, it just came down to my decision. I just had to, once I finally bought into Brisbane and what they're about, there was times when I wanted to go home and I would go home for a holiday, and I just went back, and my brother said, "There's nothing really back here for you. Everyone works and all your friends are doing their things, so it just comes down to the individual, I suppose. If they want to buy into what the club's about and love where they are, and Brisbane gave me an opportunity, and once I seen that, I looked at my locker, and there wasn't too many people that had played 100 games wearing the number 9, so I just wanted to get my name on the locker and just set a legacy for me up in Brisbane. I know my brother Corey, he went to Essendon, and Carlton, he had to travel away to live his AFL dream, and it was good to sit down with my brothers and actually say, look, there's nothing much for you back at home. We're doing our thing, you're over there doing your thing, so go over there and make the family proud. And ever since that discussion, I bought into bought into the whole Brisbane Lions culture and, bought a house over here and decided this is where I wanted to be and start a life over here.
Well, you've definitely left a pretty good legacy, and hopefully there's a few more years of it still to come. Hope to see you in the seniors pretty soon, Ash, and thanks for joining us on the Fancast today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot, guys.
This weekend, the reserves play on Saturday afternoon. It's a curtain raiser at the Gabba against Aspley, 3:30pm before the 7:40pm seniors game. Make sure you do go to the reserves just quickly. Great to see curtain raisers back at the Gabba, even if they are a few hours earlier than normal. Maybe go see the reserves, grab dinner, and then go to the seniors would be a great setup. Then the seniors hit the Gabba against North Melbourne, 7:40pm on Saturday night. Jonathan Brown will be doing a lap of honour at halftime. Make sure you get there for that. We want a big crowd. He deserves a big crowd. With all he's given to the club, I think anyone who calls himself a Lions fan just has to find a way to get there.
Yep, if you go into one game this year, this has to be the one. Last chance you get to see Browny go around the Gabba and do a lap of honour. So get along and support him.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be Saturday night. And we'll be back next week to review the game. Just very briefly, we haven't touched much on the actual on-field today, Mike, but tip for this game?
I think you have to go with North Melbourne. Their forms, they've been criticised a bit for being up and down, but they travel interstate really well. They've got a lot to play for. They're looking for a top 4 spot. Can't go past North Melbourne. I'd love to see the Lions lift, though, and improve on last week.
Just because of the week we've had, I'm going the Lions. I'm
Dom.
going to tip the Lions. Let's just go for it. I'm backing them in. We'll be back next week to review that match. Until then, this is the Fancast. Bye.
See ya.